I'm going to show you how to use your calculator to make a histogram. We already looked at how to organize some data in Chapter 3, in the Chapter 3 video in Stat Edit, and I'll show you how to do that again. What I have here is an example of some average daily temperatures that I just kind of grabbed from the back of the textbook, and I'm going to organize it into a frequency chart. Temperatures, and that lovely scribble there says frequency. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create the frequency histogram on on the grid, and then we're going to do it in the calculator so that you can see the differences. Now in the PowerPoint they have this list of rules of how to set up a frequency chart, and the calculator will always follow those rules, but really you can set up a chart however you want. It does not need to start at the lowest, which is a 26, and then end at the highest, which is 74. As long as your lowest number is in your lowest class and your highest number is in your highest class, then you're good to go. And how you set up those classes, now you can use the cheat of the difference between the two, divide the max and the min, and divide by how many classes that you want. Or you can just kind of look at it intuitively. I have numbers from like mid 20s to high 70s. So if I go by tens, so 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, for my lower boundaries, my upper boundaries will be 29, 39, 49, 59, and so on. So each class will have a class width of 10, even though it will look like a 9. Think of it heading down, so 20 to 30 is plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, even though in here it looks like it's a difference of 9. If you count up, you got to count the 0 too, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I'll go through and I'll count up what we have. Let's say I got 1, 2, 3 in my 20s, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the 30s. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the 40s. 1, what am I on? 5, 1, 2, 3 in the 50s. 60s is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which leaves me with 1, 2, 3 over here in the 70s. So now I have a max of a 5, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's extend this just a little bit. We'll make him 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. This is a 0. Of course, every graph has to have a 0 or else it's a bad graph. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw our bars going up. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I won't make them quite as wide as that, just so we can kind of fit it in. So this goes up to the 3. This one goes up to the 4. Another 4. Oops, it doesn't really look like it's the same, right? Let's try that again. That's better. Another 3. Oops. And a 5, so way up here. And then another 3. And so here are my bars. And I can fill them some different colors, possibly, so that we can see what's going on. Let's make you purple. Wow, that actually looks pretty good, huh? Alright, so now we got our histogram, and what we want to do is label these pieces down here. Now what you choose to label them is really up to you. You can use the lower boundary, or the lower limit, the upper limit, the class boundary, which I don't like to use, but the calculator and my math lab like to use it, or you can use the class midpoint, which is usually what I like to use for these classes. The class midpoint is basically the average of the upper and lower boundaries, and so here I will have a 24.5. And you can kind of cheat and just add down the class width, and you will always get, oops, pretty much the same number, right? Just plus 10, plus 10, plus 10. And I will label that on the bottom. So 24.5, 34.5, 44.5. What's the last one? 74.5. And there's my beautiful little histogram. If you really want a frequency polygon, how about I'll use this thing. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's a little thick. It'll have to do for now. You would go from the bottom up to the middle of the top bar and then just start connecting the bars like so. And then go to the end. And there's your frequency polygon. We call it a polygon because it's enclosed, like this. So if, I don't think it will let me fill it, but let's see. Right? Now. If you wanted to fill this all in, then you would have an enclosed region. And so that's why we call it a polygon. So for every person that draws this graph and sets up these classes, we could have a different graph for every single person. So sometimes if we want to follow the rules, we can use the calculator. And so let me put this right there. You'll start by going into Stat, Edit, and listing all the data in here. If you have data in there, you can clear it out by going up to L1 and then hitting Clear, or deleting each number one by one. I've already typed in all our numbers to save us some time. Then what we looked at before is going up to Stat Calc for 1vars, but for what we're going to do now is we're going to turn on our statistics plot. Over the y equals, you'll see stat plot. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen. If I hit second y equals, these stat plots come up. The one will be highlighted, hit enter, and then it's probably off on yours like it is on mine, and blinky's over here on the on. Hit enter, and now it turns it on. Go down, and we have the different charts that we can choose from. A scatter plot, which we won't really use right now. A connected scatter plot, which kind of will do these frequency polygons, but only for certain data sets. What we want is that lovely little histogram. So highlight that and then hit enter, and you'll see that it will go to L1 to get all our data. And this says all that data is only in there once. So that's what that frequency means. Now when I hit graph, you're probably not going to see anything because the window defaults to that Cartesian plane from -10 to 10. So we need to hit zoom and then either up or down. I'll go down because some of the newer calculators have a lot at the bottom. For me it's faster to go up, but you want to go to zoom stat and highlight that. Hit enter, and there's my lovely histogram. Now this guy does not look much like this one. I still have 6 bars, but the bars are different. If I want to see how they decided to set it up, I hit trace. This first column has a min value of 26 for the whole set, right? But this column specifically says everything in here is less than a 35.6. So basically this goes from 26 to 35. So I still have classes of 10, but they're not starting at 20. They're starting at the low one, which is the 26. So they're kind of following those rules from the PowerPoint. So, and I have 5 things in here that go from 26 to this class limit of a 35. Because the boundary, that class boundary, is a 35.6. So if you're a 35.6 or higher, you get kicked up to here. And so from 36 to 45, that's where you land in here. And there's 5 in there. This would be from 46 to 54, 55 to 64, 64, yeah, and then 65 up to the 74, and you have 5 in there, and then we got one guy over here that's over the 74. I think we had a 74. The minimum is a 74, so less than the 83. So I still had the lowest in the lowest class and the highest in the highest class, but my highest class had a frequency of 1. So this chart looks different than the chart that we made, but all these are correct. There's not one correct histogram that you can make. So when you're doing your lab, and if you that's why I gave you class boundaries and class limits, so that I'm looking at the same one on every lab and not a different one every time I grade one. So that's how you use your calculator. If you want to get back to the main screen, just hit second mode and then you'll be good to go.